The lab had been silent for days after the chrono key vanished. Amelia and the remaining scientists knew something had changed. Something had been rewritten, but they didn't know what. The world outside seemed the same, but an uneasy tension lingered in the air, like an unfinished equation waiting to collapse. Then the clock started to malfunction. It began with minor inconsistencies. Digital timers would reset randomly, wall clocks would spin forward or backward at unnatural speeds, and the timestamps on security footage wouldn't match reality. At first, it was dismissed as a simple malfunction, until they realized it wasn't the technology that was broken. It was time itself. "We need to run diagnostics on the local time fields," Dr. Malik suggested. His voice was steady, but his hands betrayed his nerves, trembling as he pulled up the quantum stabilizer logs. Amelia leaned in, scanning the readings. "That's impossible," she muttered. "These fluctuations, they're converging toward a single point. The point wasn't somewhere in the lab. It was inside the containment room where the chrono key had once been." Against every logical instinct, Amelia and her team moved cautiously toward the sealed chamber. The door, reinforced with multiple security layers, should have remained locked. But as they reached it, they found it slightly ajar, as if something had forced its way through without triggering the alarm. The air inside was different, thicker, heavier, charged with an invisible force. The walls shimmered faintly, their edges bending in and out of focus, as if the very fabric of reality was uncertain about what it should be. Dr. Malik hesitated. "Maybe we should." But before he could finish, the room changed. The lights flickered, then died. In the darkness, the temperature dropped sharply, and an eerie silence swallowed every sound. Then, the containment field, the one that no longer existed, flickered back to life, glowing faintly in the shape of something that was no longer there. The chrono key was gone, but its echo remained. And then the whispers began. At first they were faint, a distant murmuring as though carried from another place, another time. But as the scientists listened, the whispers grew stronger, more distinct, voices layered over one another, speaking in languages both ancient and unknown, their tones urgent, warning, pleading. Then, one voice emerged clearer than the rest. Elias Carter. "You're running out of time." Amelia's heart pounded. "Elias, where are you? Not where, when?" His voice was strained, distorted as if dragged through centuries. "They don't want you to fix this. They want you to keep unraveling it. Every action you take, every step forward, feeds them." "Feeds what?" Dr. Malik asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The containment room trembled. The air vibrated with an unseen force, and the temperature dropped even further. The whispers intensified, overlapping in chaotic disarray. Something was trying to break through. Elias's voice cut through the noise, sharp and desperate. "Close the rift. Now! Before—" A deafening screech erupted from the center of the room. The flickering containment field shattered like glass, sending waves of energy rippling outward. The scientists stumbled backward as something forced its way into reality. A figure materialized, but it was wrong. Its shape constantly shifting, morphing between forms, flickering between past and future, human and inhuman. Its presence warped the space around it, distorting time itself. Then, for a brief moment, it stabilized. A tall, hollow-eyed humanoid stood before them. Its gaze was empty, yet Amelia felt it staring directly into her mind, through every version of her that had ever existed. It took a step forward, and time itself bent with it. Amelia saw flashes of past and future colliding, cities burning in timelines that had never happened, people erased from existence before they could be born, shadows flickering across infinite realities. And then, it spoke, not in words, not in sound, but directly into their minds. "You should not have looked," Dr. Malik gasped, clutching his head as his entire body convulsed. Amelia felt it too, a crushing weight, an unbearable awareness of every moment in history folding onto itself. The burden of too much knowledge, too many realities overlapping. "Shut it down," she screamed, forcing herself to move. The team scrambled to activate the emergency failsafe, but time had already lost its grip. The walls shifted, morphing into different versions of the lab, sometimes ancient and abandoned, sometimes futuristic and filled with unfamiliar technology. They were phasing through possibilities that should never exist. Elias's voice echoed one last time. You can't stop them. You can only contain them. You have to choose. Shut it down or let them in. Amelia's mind raced. What if shutting it down trapped them forever? What if letting them in ended everything? She had only seconds to decide. The figure took another step forward, its form flickering between infinite versions of itself. Choose. And with shaking hands, she made her choice. Then, everything went white.